All right, Inappropriate Earl is back in the house. We've had a lot of comics on, a lot of musicians on lately, but today I am very excited to have a longtime friend and someone who I literally have not seen in probably 12 years. He might be the most multi-talented person I've ever had on this podcast. He's a singer, songwriter, author, I might say even a little bit of a comic.
Absolutely.
Please put your hands together for the lovely and talented Mr. Geoffrey Mark.
Hi, friends.
Geoffrey, it's been...
Something be too long.
I first met you at the Improv, what was it, 2004?
Something like that. Bud Friedman sent me over and asked me to check you out. Actually, that's why I was there. And here we are all these years later.
Which is what I love about the world of comedy. It's so many people, so many stories, so many paths of meeting people and staying in touch and losing touch with people, unfortunately, different circles. The circle is now complete. We are back.
Well, I've been busy since last we got together. 2 books were published. I produced a CD of big band music with a singer. I directed an Elvis show at a local casino out in the desert. And I've ghostwritten a couple of books. And now I have a brand new book out on Ella Fitzgerald called Ella, Biography of a Legendary Ella Fitzgerald. And you've been busy touring and being in comedy clubs and making commercials and making movies and television shows. You've become quite the star. I'm so proud of you.
Well, it's been a long road. I did a show yesterday with a young comic, 24 years old, already been on Conan twice. Here I am, 49, haven't been on Conan once. There's many paths.
There are many paths. I got to do the Tonight Show once, about 30 days into Jay Leno's tenure. Johnny had just left, and the only reason I could think they booked someone like me was because he was having trouble getting guests. Because no one wanted to go near Jay the first couple of months.
Why is that? Just because he wasn't Johnny?
Because he wasn't Johnny, because no one knew how the ratings were going to play out between he and Letterman and what was going to happen. People were expecting the worst. The last time there had been a transition, there was a 6-month gap between Jack Parr and Johnny, and then there was a whole 1.5 year gap between Steve Allen and Jack Parr. It was unknown territory. So everyone was leery. No one wanted to get attached to something that might not be, you know how Hollywood is.
Well, unfortunately, I do.
If they smell it might not be a hit, everybody walks away. If they sniff that you might be a hit, the whole world wants to attach to you like barnacles and suck you dry.
Because you've seen it all. I'd be like...
I have. I've done this now. This is 45 years of doing this. I've been at this, you can add up the numbers. I've been at this professionally since I'm 15 and as an amateur since I'm 8. Because I don't think you know this about me. I got emancipated at 15.
I did not. What brought that on?
Well, I'll be very honest with you guys because I always tell the truth on camera. Off camera, I may lie once in a while. On camera, I always tell the truth.
Who doesn't?
My father, unfortunately, was an alcoholic and a drug addict and a child abuser. And I was the child, among others.
Right.
And my mother, I guess she's mentally ill, but definitely a codependent. And by the time I was 15, they just couldn't have me around anymore. They just couldn't afford to have me in the house. They couldn't afford to have me seeing what was going on. She wasn't going to change anything. She wasn't going to leave him. And she kind of transitioned from being my mother to being his mother. That's where her happiness lay. And I was shipped off at 15 to college, and I paid for it.
How did you pay for it?
Loans, grants, and you work full time. And I got my own apartment. And now, mind you, I was not in Harvard or Yale or Princeton. I was at the University of Arkansas, and not the good one in Little Rock. I was at the awful one way up in Fayetteville, up in the Ozarks.
Okay.
I've started writing my memoirs, and the title of that chapter is Jed and Granny Had Better Writers Than I Did.
Right.
Because the people there spoke like that. That was the mentality. They were still fighting the Civil War. But it was not a great seat of knowledge. I may have been the only Jew on campus. And not my happiest time. I did get a great deal of business training there. That I got.
Which is funny. You wouldn't think you would get show business training in Arkansas.
My friend Larry Luckenbill went to the same school, and we were both sent east by the same professor. Wonderful, may he rest in peace, Dr. Kernodle, who wrote what was at that time the textbook that all the colleges used for drama students. And he saw the talent, and he did what he could for me while I was there, and then helped me to get the hell out of there as soon as I could. So Larry and I both have him to thank for starting our careers. But I had already done professional theater. I'd already made my first movie by that point. And before I was 18, I had done 2 off-Broadway shows, worked at the Playboy Club. I had been doing stand-up and jazz singing in nightclubs all over New York City. I toured with Summer Stock. I'd done children's theater. I was a very ambitious young man. And maybe that's why I like Ella Fitzgerald so much. Our stories are very different, but the similarities. At 15, she was on her own, and her stepfather sexually abused her and physically abused her the same way I was. And for both of us, you make a choice. A lot of people would just fold their tents and go, that's it. I've had an awful life. I can't deal with this. And you overdose, or you sit in a recliner, or you go off your rocker, or slash your wrists, or whatever you do. Both Ella and I had to make a decision. Am I going to live or am I going to die? And it's a decision I've had to make over and over again. But at that moment, it's no. I have been lucky. I've known since I was 2 years old what I was going to do. There was never any doubt in my mind that I was headed for show business. My family, no. You're going to be a doctor.
Right.
Doctor, we're going to be so proud of you, a doctor. Very, very, very Jewish family. But I knew exactly where my future was. It's what I was born for. I really, really believe that. I think you're born with talents. I think everybody is born with talent.
I agree. I think Michael Jordan was born to be a basketball player, the greatest.
And you were born to be a comedian.
I am.
You're brilliant. You are brilliant on stage. There are so many comedians out there. Let's talk about you for a second. Let me brag about you to our friends out there.
Oh, you're too kind.
I'm the right kind. There are so many stand-ups out there. And this is my complaint maybe about stand-up comedians, or it's how I judge comedians. If you're doing material as a comedian that I could do and get laughs, there's something wrong with your material.
I agree.
If you're doing material that I've seen on Comedy Central or Leno or anywhere else, if you're doing the same old stuff, you're a hack. I don't think anyone could get away with what you get away with on stage. I don't think anyone else could make what you do funny. You have a specific point of view comedically. You have a specific attitude. What you wear on stage, your sexuality, your uber masculinity,
Stop, you're making me confident. By the way, I must say, my ex-girlfriend Gail is in chat. She says you look lovely.
Thank you, Gail. It's nice to hear from you, and it's nice to get a compliment. I appreciate that.
At one point, me and Gail were like OJ and Nicole, but we've mended we're now great friends.
I'm glad to hear it. Well, Earl's a good guy. I mean, I cannot tell you what kind of boyfriend material he makes, but I can tell you he makes great friend material, and he is my favorite comedian of the young. When I say,
well, I'm not young.
When I say young, I mean younger than I am. Of the younger people I have met out there and watched out there, Earl is my favorite. He never fails to make me laugh. He never fails to surprise me, and I'm always happy I've tuned in.
Well, I think I do well with. Well, thank you. I think even though I'm older, I'm in the worst age range you can be to try and be in this business, which is an older, normal-looking white guy. I mean, it either pays to be fat, short and black, or just something where it's like, oh wow, what's this person look like? But I am who I am.
Why do you think I wear sparkles?
Oh, absolutely. That's when I first met you. That's my look. And I remember the outfit I had on. I had a pair of bright yellow Versace pants on. And I think a Boston Bruins hockey jersey because I wanted to stand out.
And you did.
But not be gaudy. Like this outfit to me is not gaudy.
Well, also,
but it stands out.
Also, I'm dressed because I'm doing a concert in a couple of hours in Glendale. So if you're watching us live on Facebook, if you're in the Glendale, California area at 7 o'clock, I'll be at the Glendale Downtown Library Auditorium, and I'm going to be singing, 7 or 8 songs out of Ella Fitzgerald's canon to the original arrangements. My voice, my style, but her songs, and telling some stories and signing some books and answering some questions. So if you want to come out, it's free.
Please do. Jeffrey, like you guys know, my musical taste borders on retardation with the 80s metal being the primary focus. But Jeffrey is an incredibly talented singer. So I do have some fans in Glendale. It's free, you cheap bastards. And pick up. Can they buy the book?
Absolutely.
So the book is out.
The book is out. I'll have copies with me. It is not free, but I'll be very happy to sell it to you.
And for those of you who are out of town, where are the best places to buy the book? The usual.
I think the easiest place, unless I'm coming to your town to sing or doing a book signing, the best place is Amazon.com. And could we talk about the book for just a minute?
100%.
Just for a minute. Earl's show is fun and gaudy and bawdy and dirty and funny and
Exactly.
funny and funny. And we're going to get to all of that. So here's my little commercial. It's a wonderful book. It's taken 28 years to put together. It's over 450 pages long. You have over 250 photographs and graphics in it. I have spoken with everybody who ever worked with her who was still alive while I've been writing things. Every song has gone over, every album, every concert, every special. I miss nothing with the work. And then I also bring you the woman. Because everybody in show business owes Ella Fitzgerald a debt of gratitude. Whether you're African American or Latino or Asian or Jewish or gay or female, if you're anything except a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, Ella Fitzgerald did something to kick open a door for you so you could be in show business. And if you are a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, she raised the bar so that, all right, you want to be in show business? You need to be this good to be on this ride.
Right.
Okay, you can't be this good anymore. Now you must rise. I think she's an inspiration to everyone. You do the absolute best you can on any given day. Don't give less than your best.
Oh, I always tell young comics that even if you're in a room full of 3 people, you don't know who those 3 people are. They could help you. Act like you're at a sold-out show.
And it's your responsibility, if there's only 3 people, to make sure those 3 folks are entertained.
Absolutely.
Or you're an asshole.
Oh, I agree.
Because that's why you're there. Those 3 people don't care if you can't pay your rent. They don't care how the manager of the club treated you. They don't care that your girlfriend wouldn't go down on you last night. They're there to get entertained by you and lose themselves for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour. That's your job. You want to do that job? Go be a waiter someplace. If you're going to do that job, do your best. I have very little patience with people in our business who don't try. Do it.
Right.
Do it.
And it's never been easier to make it with the advent of YouTube, online. Like, there's no excuse.
There isn't. But getting back to me.
Yes.
And my book. So I think the best place to get me is Amazon.com. Again, tonight in Glendale. I know I'm going to be doing a show sometime in April or May in Los Angeles. And I'll be appearing again in the desert April 14th, I'll be doing a book signing at Just Fabulous in Palm Springs. April 25th, which is Ella's birthday, I'll be at Germano's in Baltimore. And then April 29th, I'm so thrilled to be in my hometown. I'll be at the Triad Theater in Manhattan doing a concert, and I can't wait. I'm
And
so
when is that?
thrilled. April 29th
Okay.
at 7 p.m. in Manhattan in a theater, in a real theater. I get to do a show about Ella, and I'm so pleased to be able to do this, to bring Ella's music into the 21st century, to let people be aware that she left the bulk of her money into the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, which helps the working poor keep their heads above water. And a portion of some of the things I'm doing is going to the foundation. And there is a deluxe version of the book also. This is a cool story. I'm doing a show at the Grammy Museum with Patty Austin in April. And it just so happens that Universal Music's people are there. And we start talking because I've worked for various and sundry of Ella's record labels before. I'm Grammy nominated for working for them. And they let me know that you probably don't know this, Jeff, but all of her major labels are now under one corporate umbrella. We own or distribute everybody. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to put out some of the music into the book? You could hear what I'm talking about.
Oh, wow.
No one had ever thought to do this. So after months of negotiations, and even as of today, we're finalizing the CDs, which will be out about the 13th of April. We are having 2 CDs in the book. One is all studio stuff. One is all live stuff from 1937 or 38 up to 1990. And I've sequenced them exactly the way Ella would have if she were singing them in a concert. And that deluxe edition is also available. If you buy it now, the CDs will be out in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
But they're coming, I promise. And you're going to be blown away because it's 7 decades of her music, but the best of the best of the best. So I'm really pleased.
And when you sing, are you accompanied with like a piano player? Or?
I will not apologize that I'm singing to tracks. I'm singing live.
Right.
But I'm singing to tracks because touring becomes too expensive otherwise. And to have different musicians in different cities or have to schlep musicians and you can't do these things with just a pianist. You need at least a quartet. These are like Nelson Riddle arrangements. You have to use a group. So I'm singing to full orchestral tracks, in some cases made by the very same people who made them for Ella.
Right.
So we're bringing you the sounds of her arrangements. We're bringing you the spirit of her music, but it's my voice and my style and my way of doing it.
And what is your style? Like if you were to say you were different than her style-wise, what is that?
Well, first of all, I'm a man. I sing in a male voice.
Yes, I would say that would be the biggest difference.
The biggest difference, I have no breasts or a vagina, and I don't believe she had a penis. So I think...
Who knows?
No, I did a lot of research. I really don't think so.
It's a different era.
Different era, but I really don't think so. I learned a lot about Ella. I learned a lot about her, but I don't think she had one. The other thing is I phrase differently than she does. I can't hit 4 octaves the way she does. I have to be me. I can't force the music out of me to sound like someone else. It has to be part of me.
Right.
It's the same. We were talking a moment ago about comedians. Ella is almost uncopyable. I was talking to Marilyn Michaels, the best known female impressionist, meaning she's a female who impersonates other females. And she said, I can do anybody's voice except Ella's. There's something in the timbre of her voice that no one is able to get, and I can't get it. And I don't know that I want to try to get it. Why be a second-rate somebody else when I can be a first-rate me?
Right.
So that's what I try to do. I'm using her arrangements as a lattice work to be in the same world. And the audiences are telling me, yeah, you're not Ella, and we don't expect you to be, and you're not in drag or anything. But for a little bit, we get the feel of what it must have been like to be in the same room with her and hear her sing these arrangements. She has so many live albums out. I mean, more than any other singer in history. If you want to hear her sing live, there's plenty and plenty and plenty of things to go to. But unfortunately, she's passed. We can't see her anymore. except in 3 or 4 concert videos that were made through the years. But to be there live, to breathe the same air, I'm kind of bringing this to the people.
What if they did, and I'm being serious, this is going to make it seem like I'm making a joke out of this, but I'm not. Like, they recently did a hologram of Tupac Shakur, I think at Coachella. And then the one I was a little more interested in was the rock and roll singer Ronnie James Dio. They did a hologram where it was his band that he had when he was alive and his hologram. Do you think they would do something like that for Ella Fitzgerald? I didn't really like I found it a little creepy in the Dio case. Would you be open to something like that being done?
I'm always open to things that are excellent. If it was done in good taste, if it was done really well, and I'll give you the only thing that comes to my mind. I've written extensively about the work of Lucille Ball. And in fact, there's a new book coming out next year from me about her career. The new Lucy book. So look for that next year, folks.
Well, what was the first book? Can they buy that?
The Lucy book is still available.
Amazon.
But it's expensive because it's out of print.
So go on Amazon, look up Geoffrey Mark.
Geoffrey. And you can friend me on Facebook. I have room for friends. But next year, the new Lucy book, and I'll be back with Earl and tell you.
Oh, absolutely.
But they've colorized I Love Lucy. They've colorized now, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 of the episodes. And I'm always asked, what do you think of the colorization? And my answer has to be, there is enough footage that was taken on the set, silent footage, and films she made in the 1950s. We know what the colors of the sets are. We know the colors of the dresses. We certainly know the color of her hair. And I think if they would colorize the show properly, not like a cartoon, but properly, I think it would open up the show to 5 more generations. You know, we always thought, baby boomers thought, we'd be watching I Love Lucy forever. Well, it's turning out, except for the Christmas specials, youngsters today aren't watching I Love Lucy. They don't know about it, and they won't watch anything black and white. So
see, I like black and white.
To me, I don't even notice I'm watching black and white. It's like, am I having vanilla or chocolate? It's ice cream. To me, it's just ice cream, a different flavor. But there are a lot of people who never grew up with it, don't know about it, don't watch it. But what these people have done, and I mean, no denigration of the folks who have been involved with it. I know some of them. But the colorization people have chosen to make her hair this pinkish orange. The colors of the set are wrong. The colors of the dresses are wrong. Vivian Vance's hair color is wrong. And it's not necessary. We know the right stuff. We don't have to guess. So if it's done properly, which gets back to your question about Ella hologram, if it were to be done really classy, if they chose a moment in Ella's life where she looked her best, the best dress, the best wig, and I assume she'd be singing because she'd be using her own lips.
Right.
You know, pick her up around 1964, 65, 66, where she's at the absolute height of her powers. I think that'd be fun. For a song, a whole concert, probably not. But I think, not maybe in my time, but before you kick off, they're going to have hologram concerts that look like 3D to everybody. And I think the technology is coming.
Well, I mean, the Dio situation was a full concert. Like, it was, and he's got one of the greatest voices and certainly in the music, in the metal world ever.
I agree. It's not, metal is not my arena,
right?
But I can recognize talent, and you're correct. Extremely talented.
Oh, it's the same thing with the singer from Judas Priest.
Yes,
Rob Halford. He still belts it out. It's not the same, but fuck, he's got to be almost 65, 66. I don't expect him to sound like he did when he was 30.
No, you can't. Tony Bennett is still out there at 90. Singing. Barbra Streisand's out there at 75. Do they sound like they did in 1964? No.
I mean,
if you're a singer, your voice reaches an apex. Like, this is the best you're ever going to sound. And if I will, with pardonable pride, I'm there. I am singing today the best I have ever sung in my life. But there will inevitably come a moment when I slide down a little bit. It isn't all of a sudden, it isn't all at once. It's our voice box is not like a trumpet. Sooner or later it starts to wear out. It's human.
Right.
And a comedian isn't quite as sharp anymore. His timing isn't quite all there anymore.
Sure.
There are some comedians, the older they get, the funnier they get. Look at George Burns. Look at Jack Benny, who had it right to the end. There are other comedians I see as they're aging. Part of their shtick was being young and cute and full of energy. And when they're not so young and no longer cute and have gained weight and their hair is going and they're not so happy. Well, they're fucked because they're not funny anymore. They haven't adapted to their own lives. They're still doing pee-pee jokes that were funny when you're 20, but when you're 50 or 60 or 70 really aren't that funny anymore. George Carlin, bless his heart, I loved, well, what a wonderful man. What a brilliant comedian.
The best ever.
The best. Grew as a comedian. He got better and better, and his jokes changed with him. George Burns and Gracie Allen went to radio and were a huge hit. And then after a while, weren't such a big hit anymore. And like, what are we going to do? Is it over for us? And then he realized we're still doing boy-girl stuff like we were 22 years old. He said, we're a married couple. We have children. We need to be a married couple.
Right.
We need to do jokes about husbands and wives. They did that literally by saying, hey, folks, you know what? You've all known we're married. From now on this show, we're married. We have 2 kids. Go. Top of the ratings again.
Well, it's like I just saw Kiss in concert, and they have a. I love Kiss. I mean, I'll go see them till.
I've known Gene a long time.
But I mean, they have a song which Gene sings called Christine 16. And it's basically Gene creeping outside of a high school, wanting to fuck this hot 16-year-old. And, you know, I think that was on the Love Gun album, so that's 77. Kiss had to be in their 30s, maybe at that. Okay, that's a cool song, I guess. At that time, it's a different era now. Couldn't sing that song now, but they still sing it. And Gene's 62, and Paul's same age. It's like this is completely creepy. You guys are talking about fucking 16-year-old. Motley Crue, same thing.
Well, there comes a point for everybody when you have to adjust to your age. How long? And they're getting away with it, but how long can Mick Jagger and friends continue to run around a stage in skin-tight clothing? I mean, Mick's kept himself in good shape.
He looks good.
But I mean, there's going to come a point where he won't have the energy to do that. It's happening to Bette Midler now. She can't run around the stage like she used to and sing and clown like she did. There comes a point where you have to adjust to it. And I think it's even more important for a comedian because your comedy has to come out of your DNA. It has to come out of you. And if the you that you are is now 30 years older, you can't tell the same. Here's the first joke I wrote for myself as a stand-up comedian. And I wrote it in 1975. However old that made me back then. And I did this joke at the Duplex in Manhattan. And I was talking about, now I'm very young looking and the great big eyes, and I was very, very thin. I had like a 28-inch waist. And there's no mistaking I am a very young person. And I'm talking about not having a father. I exaggerated my situation that he wasn't there anymore. That my mother is trying to teach me about growing up and the birds and the bees. And she keeps stressing, but I need to have protection. I need protection. Well, I kind of sort of figured it out and got one of her Playtex living gloves and cut off the fingers. It didn't do much for my sex life, but I became the first kid on the block with dishpan penis. Now, when I was 17, I just stood there for 30 seconds because they weren't expecting me to go sexual at all. And then I did not use any dirty words, kind of like wow, he made a dirty joke, but not one dirty word in it. Now, if I told the joke today, you mildly snorted at me because it's completely inappropriate for somebody my age. It's unbelievable. It's wrong for me. My humor has grown through the years.
Right.
So if I was still doing jokes about getting laid or not having money or about my innocence, no one would laugh at it. It would be like very, very, very sad if I did that.
I don't know if I would. I like, I mean, my humor is almost, I wouldn't say regressing, but I still probably do the jokes that a comic in their mid-20s would do. But I think that's where I get the laughs is people. I still talk about the 80s rock scene. It's like, dude, it's 2018. No one knows who Rat is. But to me, it's funny. So I'm going to do what I think is funny.
It has to be funny to you. It's not going to make them laugh if you don't think it's funny. If you were balding and paunchy and ugly, you couldn't pull it off. That you are good looking and you've kept yourself in really good shape.
I've tried. It's tough.
It's tough for everybody. You've done better than I have.
You look great.
I've lost 83 pounds so far.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I've lost.
Because you were, what, three, over 3?
I was over 3. Let's put it that way.
And now you're 218, if I throw that out there.
Well, it's too late now if it isn't. Yes, I'm 218. As of this morning, I'm 218 pounds. But no one is going to want me to wear a singlet on stage or wear a hockey outfit on stage or any of the other things you've done that you can get away with because you're in such good shape. It's part of your comic persona. It's the sexy nerd thing. You've made it work for you.
That's exactly what I'm...
So well. And it works. It continues to work because you still are a sexy nerd. You're just an older sexy nerd. And in fact, being older makes the nerd thing funnier.
Well, I think, it's a fine line as a comic. You obviously, at some point, care what the audience thinks. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what they find funny. So if they don't find it funny, you're going to be stuck doing it in your living room. There's always that concern for me of, yes, I want to joke about Rat and the Vinnie Vincent invasion, which is a group so obscure that people outside of Vinnie Vincent's family don't know who it is. But to me, I think for me, the audience laughs not necessarily at the material, but at my enthusiasm for telling the joke. Like, it's 2018. You should be doing a joke about Beyonce.
Because you have a comic attitude that is all your own. Anything you say can come out funny because you have an attitude. So do I. I rarely do prepared material anymore. I riff with the audience. I sense what they're about. And of course, I'm singing also. So I can always retreat to a song if I don't get a big laugh.
Right.
But I don't do a whole lot of, and I'm not specifically a joke teller. I'm a storyteller. And there aren't very many of us left in comedy.
Nice.
I'm more of a Danny Thomas. I tell a story that has chuckles that gets to a punchline eventually. Or I'm telling a true story that is funny and you're going to enjoy it. But I'm not, the doorbell rings at a whorehouse and the madam opens the door and there's a guy with no arms and no legs. And she laughs at him and says, "What do you think you're going to do here?" He said, "I rang the doorbell, didn't I?" Those are jokey jokes. And I could tell them, you could tell them, my assistant could tell them and get a laugh with them. I don't do that kind of stuff on stage. I don't tell jokes anymore. I tell stories. And I weave my humor through stories. That's my style. It's what I find funny. My persona maybe is that older guy who's still kind of youthful, who wears all that sparkly stuff. And you know what? Son of a bitch, it looks good on him. And he knows everything about show business. And he's going to tell it to us and make us laugh about it and laugh with it. And I'm smart. And that comes across too. I don't play dumb. I can't. I've tried. It's like being normal. And we've all seen the meme. I tried being normal once, the worst 10 seconds of my life. I'm not a normal anything. There's nothing about me that is typical, average, normal. nor do I want to be. I'm happy that I'm unique. I'm happy that I'm not like everybody else. I don't try to be like anybody else, but I also don't try not to be. I'm just being the best Geoffrey Mark that I can be on any given day. And that's what I bring to my fans. That's what I bring to any audience I'm in front of, on the radio, on television, in a live venue. I bring me. And hopefully they're having a good time with me. That's why they're tuning in or coming to see me.
I mean, that's the attitude to have. It's the same for me. It's like, hey, you're with me or you're not. If you're not, that's cool. There's 1,000 other comics. I mean,
my attitude is whether 3 people show up or 300 show up, is the check going to clear? Great, let's have a show. I'm there. I'm there anyway. Why not have a good time? Why not enjoy what I'm doing? I don't want to suffer through anything. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. For those of you who don't care,
my fans care, Geoffrey.
Okay, it took me almost 3 hours to get here to be with Earl. It was a very, very, very long trip to get here. It was a lot of traffic.
Because you're in the desert community?
Yeah, I'm out in Rancho Mirage. Well, you know what? So what? We got here, and I'm having a great time with an old friend I haven't seen in a long time. And then I get to sing tonight in front of hopefully a couple of hundred people. I'm having a ball. What's to complain about? That I was in traffic? So fucking what?
Right.
I get to perform. Lucky me.
I mean, I wish everyone had that attitude.
No, I'm not in charge of everybody. I'm barely in charge of myself. But I can attitudes. Lucille Ball used to have a little thing on her refrigerator. Attitudes and priorities. Is this good for Lucy? I kind of say the same thing up to myself. I can choose to be negative and bring negativity to me, or I can choose to have a positive outlook and bring good things. Rip Taylor told me that. Wonderful, wonderful Rip Taylor.
The $1.98 beauty show.
Rip said, bring it to you. Imagine it, envision it, bring it to you. What I wear on stage is because of Rip. Rip took me out to dinner before I met you, obviously, and said, Jeff, you are great on stage, but you dress like an accountant. There's nothing, you're dynamic and you're dressing boring. And there's a very long story of how the sequence came in my life. But because of Rip, this is how I dress now. And he was right. The very first time I tried it, the audience went crazy. And like, it was a cartoon, light bulb. It's like, all right, he was right. The audience found it. They liked it because they liked it. I now have 75 sparkly hats. I don't take out my garbage without a sparkly hat on my head. It works for me.
Well, I'm the same way with my leather pants.
And I'm happy to wear it. Once I have it on, I'm not even aware I have it on. Other than today, I'm fumbling with the scarf a little bit because it's there. But
well, I get a Charles Nelson Riley vibe. And I mean that as a compliment because
he was brilliant. Brilliant at what he did.
Doesn't get the credit.
Well, that's a whole. I don't know if you have any fans who want to ask any questions, but
ask away, but be respectful, guys. I know my fans can get a little unruly when you, let's just say, open up the forum to questions. But
you know what? They can't scare me. I've been in show business 45 years.
You grew up in the 70s in New York,
in the 60s and the 70s in New York. I was born in the 50s.
But I mean, as a single man,
yes.
What
do you want to hear? You're opening up a door. Let's walk through it. I'm afraid of nothing. Really and truly, at this point in my life, I have nothing to lose.
But I mean, the 70s, I know the 60s were wild, but seeing that I was born in 68, my first exposure to the wildness of the 70s was, being a Kiss fan, and they were probably the biggest group in the world in that middle to late 70s. And
the biggest non-disco group, yes. The biggest of the kind of music they did, the biggest.
But even their biggest hit was a disco hit written by the great Desmond Child.
Yes.
But, they went to Studio 54.
So did I.
And Plato's Retreat, which was you take it from, tell me, I've never had a guest who was at the actual Studio 54.
I will pretend like we didn't talk about this before in our lives together, but it's a topic we bring up, so let's talk about it. It is possible. I was about to say, it's impossible to tell you what it was like. No, it's not. It's very possible. I'm going to tell you what it was like. We had a cultural phenomenon happen in the 1970s. Between the assassinations in the 60s and the rioting and Vietnam and civil rights unrest and kids getting killed on campuses, once President Nixon resigned, it's like our entire country said, leave me alone. We've had 15 years of nothing but heartaches and headaches and problems. We need to have some fun. And actually, it was just a repeat of what had happened in the 20s with the Charleston and speakeasies. We'd had World War I, and this country wanted to be left the fuck alone. And in the 70s, the same thing happened. Leave us the fuck alone. Don't make us think. Don't make us feel. Let's dance. And the disco era was born. And I loved disco music. I did love it.
Like Donna Summer, the Village People.
Brilliant. I knew the Village People.
Did you really?
Oh, sure.
I would love to talk about them.
Sure. David Hodo and I are still in touch. And
David Hodo was the...
If you don't know, I'm not going to...
Hold on. Let's... I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm obsessed with the Village People. We had Victor Willis was the cop.
Yeah, well, one of them.
Glenn Hughes was the leather man. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Buried in his leather outfit. Philippe Rose was the Indian.
Native American, yes.
Randy West was, I believe, the cowboy. I think David Hodo was the construction worker.
Correct. You got it right.
There's one more I'm leaving out. Alex Briley was the military.
That was, the faces changed a little bit as the group got shaken up a couple of times. And unfortunately, there is unrest today legally about who owns the name and who can call themselves what. As far as I am concerned, the people you've just mentioned are the Village People.
Oh, that's the only Village People I recognize.
Right. And then, of course, we've spoken privately about Freddie Mercury, who was brilliant, talented, and I will tell you from a personal standpoint, incredible in bed.
Well, but here's the thing. As a kid in the 70s...
You're just going to walk right past that one. Okay, go right ahead.
Well, I love Freddie Mercury.
And I had sex with him.
You had sex with Freddie Mercury?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Well, we're going to... I didn't hear the last part of that. Let's talk about Freddie Mercury.
Sure, my pleasure.
I really wanted to talk about the Village People.
You take it wherever you want to go. I'll talk about both.
Not only are you the first guest to ever be at Studio 54, but you've had sex with Freddie Mercury. Well, it kind of goes in with what I want to talk about with the Village People, because, this is in the 70s. If you were gay and a celebrity, you had to kind of keep it under wraps.
Yes. But the wraps, the press was still looking the other way back then.
Because there was no TMZ necessarily.
No, there was no internet. There was no instant anything. If you were caught someplace doing something you shouldn't have, or even something you should have but didn't want people to know about it, there was no instant. So the best could be that maybe a columnist would write about it in a newspaper.
Like Rex Reed.
Or Liz Smith, or whoever was around at the time. And certainly I've been in the columns enough through the years. It happens. But nobody ever outed me. Nobody ever had to. I never kept myself in. There was no reason to. I was never going to be a leading man. I was never going to play romantic lead. I was going to be a character actor, a singer, a comedian, a writer. I didn't need to be anything other than who I was to succeed. But the people who did need to do other things, and they still do to this day, to some degree, it was easier back then because the press was not up your butt looking for material. Because you could ruin a career back then. Today, it's really hard to ruin a career. You can get the worst publicity in the world, and unless you've molested a child,
even that's not
what it needs to be anymore. But in the 1970s, everybody was smoking grass. Everyone was drinking too much, straight or gay, because it really didn't matter that much. I think you're making too much of the gay thing. In New York City, there were, and I'm not exaggerating, 40, and if you include all 5 boroughs of New York, 50 porn theaters. And whether the theaters were showing men and women having sex on the screen, or men and men having sex on the screen, or women and women having sex on the screen, it didn't matter what was on the screen. What mattered was what was happening in the audience. And what was happening in the audience was the same from theater to theater to theater to theater. Men were either masturbating, or they were playing with each other, or they were blowing each other, or they were just out not having sex. You know, you can't not call it sex.
Right. And this is pre-AIDS, so it's
Yes.
a bit wilder.
No condoms, no worries. You know, you catch something, you get a shot. You get crabs, you use a lotion. Oh, well, I'm out of commission for a week. Ha, ha, ha. Look at me, the stud. There were, I don't know how many adult bookstores around Manhattan where for $5, you went through a turnstile and they were showing porn. And the same kind of behavior was going on there. Every major bar. Now, I don't mean a nice cocktail lounge. I don't mean the places where they had steam tables of corned beef and cabbage. I'm talking about a pickup bar. Every pickup bar had a back room, an upstairs, a downstairs, a special bathroom, someplace to go to have sex. The New York City subway system had about 230 men's rooms in its various stops. They were all having sex in. I'm a writer. They were all.
People were fucking.
All right, even better. Or sucking. Usually it was more oral sex because that's an easier thing not to get caught at.
Right.
When you're in the middle of being inside of someone, it's hard to stop that all of a sudden. But everywhere you went, Central Park, Riverside Park, good heavens, I had sex on the dance floor at Studio 54. If you count oral sex as sex.
I mean, I'm not Bill Clinton. I do.
All right. Well, I had sex on the floor of several discos. I had sex on the subway. I had sex in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on a float.
What era? I mean, what year was that?
Oh, golly.
I know. I'm assuming it was the 70s.
No, 1982. 1982. I remember because I remember who I was dating at the time. The two of us got on a float and went at it. It was wild. It was wild for everybody. The times were very bisexual in New York. I don't know that people are more or they're less or that it changes. It was the thing to do. It was the flavor of the month. It was a thing to go brag about at dinner. Oh, I was with a guy and a girl. We had a 3-way. Look at me. If you were under 45 and didn't weigh 300 pounds or more and weren't disgusting and were recently showered, you could get laid in New York 24 hours a day, anytime you wanted. There was no dearth of places to find sex. And I've not even mentioned the sex clubs and the bathhouses that were, for gay and straight people, available and open. You mentioned Plato's Retreat. That was for straight folks. That wasn't for gay people.
Well, the only reason I knew about Play, by the way, I must do a quick shout out to a celebrity in the.
Please.
I don't know if he will be embarrassed by me doing this, but one of my favorite movies of all time is Showgirls. The great Greg Travis.
Oh, cool. Hi, Greg. I'm glad you're with us.
I'm trying to get him on to talk about Showgirls. And the first love, my grade school love, Yvette Altschuler, is... This is what I love about doing Facebook Live. Your first love from your grade school is in the chat room along with one of your favorite actors.
Well, Greg, I can tell you sitting here, trust him. He asks good questions. He's not going to embarrass you. And,
not at all.
You're going to be really happy you're here with him on the couch. When I walked in here, it's like, ooh, it's the couch. I've seen it.
Everyone is like, well, Showgirls was such a, it kind of had a 70s throwback, it was a very campy movie, and I'll just never forget seeing it in Westwood. It was packed because Joe Esterhaus it was like, I think the first big movie he had written after Basic Instinct. Yes. So there was a lot of buzz around it, a lot of controversy because of the nudity. And
I will tell all of my friends and any friends of our host here that come on the show. Trust him. He's trustworthy. I wouldn't be here otherwise. Believe me. I would not have driven in
3 hours.
I'm doing a concert tonight. I should be saving my voice. I'm doing this because I love this guy and he's trustworthy. So Greg, do his show. And Yvette, we never forget our first loves. So please know for the rest of this man's life, you say the word Yvette to him and he's going to have a lovely smile on his face.
Always.
Always.
She was my Bel Air neighbor. And, we'll leave it at that. She's married with a lovely family.
Oh, yeah. One thing has nothing to do with the other. One is a lovely memory that we cherish.
Well, I think you always remember your first love. I think you remember the first person you had sex with. But let's get back to the set. We got a little sidetracked there.
That's all right.
And that there was one question that
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, it's what celebrity that you've been with? You don't have to. Well, I guess they want the name. But
ask the question. I don't.
Who had the biggest wanker? He's from the UK.
Not because you're from the UK, dear friend in the UK, and I hope you buy the book over there.
Please do.
I hope you're an Ella fan. But Freddie had a huge dick. He was packing. he was everything you would expect Freddie Mercury to be. There's only one other person who is still alive, who is elderly, and would probably not like me discussing.
We don't have to mention names.
So there's one elderly celebrity who is extraordinarily blessed. And then because he's gone, I will say I never had sex with Milton Berle, but he did take me to the men's room of the Friars Club and pull it out and show it to me. And I was mighty impressed. Milton Soft was about as big as Freddie Hard.
Well, because there's that very famous story.
And it's true. I know where you're going.
Milton was, I think, in the bathroom at the Friars Club, and another drunk.
May I do it?
Please do.
Because I heard it from the horse's mouth, and I didn't make any pun by horse, but
literally,
the Friars Club had a steam room, and Milton was draped in a towel coming out of the steam room. Now, if you were a friar, Milton knew every friar personally. He made it his business to know every single person in the club, to know your career, to know who you are, because it was his private domain. And his best friend and head writer and the guy who wrote the theme song to the Milton Berle show, Buddy Arnold, was with Milton everywhere Milton went. They were joined at the hip. They weren't lovers, but they were just best. They were just soulmates. And they're coming out of the steam room together, and a guy comes over and says, "Hey, Berle, I hear you got a big one. $100. Mine is bigger than yours." Now, as I just said, if Milton knew you, it was almost a rite of passage. It was like, "I think you're cool." Zip, plop. But if he didn't know you, he didn't even want you to talk to him at the Friars Club. He wanted his privacy. It's a private club. This is not a public performing place. So the guy persisted, and Milton said, "Look, fella, you're obviously somebody's guest, or I know who you are. Go find the guy who brought you. Please enjoy our club, but leave me alone."
Right.
"Come on, Berle, $100. Put up or shut up. Put up or shut up." And Buddy turns to Milton and says, "Oh, Milton, just pull out enough to win." And it's true, and it really happened. And Buddy Arnold told me the story, and Milton shook his head and said, "Yes, it really happened."
I mean, Milton Berle was just, a lot of people don't know this. He was in the first 2 Rat videos because his nephew Marshall was Rat's manager.
Yes.
So that's a lot of people often wonder, why did Milton Berle, how did he end up in 2 Rat videos?
And also because he was Milton Berle. He was just the coolest guy. I would hope to have 50% of the show business knowledge Milton Berle knew. Every theater, every act in vaudeville, every television show. That's how we bonded. Because I was taken to the Friars Club by Jack Carter to have lunch with Milton. I wasn't a member of the Friars Club yet. And Jack had warned me that, Milton's not the warmest person in the world. He's going to like you. He's going to not like you. It's going to go one way or the other, and there's not much you can do about it. And we were introduced, and I said to him, "So, on March 22nd in 1949, on the Texaco Star Theater, you had Ethel Merman on, and it was her first television appearance, and she had just closed the week before in Annie Get Your Gun. And you guys did a sketch about a man driving a car, and he stopped me and he said, how the hell do you know about that? I said, I have a copy of the tape. He said, I don't have a copy of the tape. I said, you do now. And I described the sketch to him. Milton upstaged everybody. That was his shtick. Physically upstaging you. And I can't get up and show you because you'd lose the frame of Facebook. But he would push you here so that you would turn this way, facing upstage where the audience is downstage, so that he'd get all the people looking at him. Well, you don't upstage Ethel Merman. And they were going to do this sketch where they were wearing these great big car coats from the 1910s. And Merman put little itty bitty, skinny stick pins sticking up on her shoulder so that if he went to grab her to push her, he'd get stuck.
Right.
And he did. And he let her have it. Three Stooges style. He poked her in the eyes like this. He gave her one of these under the chin. He took her hat off. He twisted her around. And they're singing a song by this point. And he's going on and on and on and on. And the song has ended and he's going on. And she shoves him and says, it's over already. Forget it. Good evening, friends. And it stopped the show. And Milton said to me, you know things. Now I'm going to tell you some real stories. And that's what started our friendship. Because I knew what I was talking about.
Right.
I came prepared not to do battle, but to be able to have, that's another thing, young people in show business. They know nothing about the business of the business and nothing about the history of the business. So that when they meet someone, maybe not even someone on the level of Milton Berle, but on the level of Earl Skakel or Geoffrey Mark, if you know who we are and what we've done and can say something intelligent, gee whiz, maybe I'll spend 10 minutes with you trying to help you.
Well, that's what I try and do. Because I was on that show Roast Battle on Comedy Central, and it's a great show. It's certainly done a lot for me, but I try and turn people on to like Foster Brooks, and because that's how I started to learn how to roast, was Dean Martin roast, but I really honed in on Foster Brooks. I mean, his 5-minute roast of Don Rickles is, to me, there's no other roast set that it's just, there's that and then everything else. And people, I showed it to my one friend. She's in her early 20s. She's like, I don't get it. I'm like, how could you not get this? And it's no profanity. No. He's doing basic
television.
Well, he's basically doing 5 minutes about fucking Don Rickles' wife, but it was just innuendo and like.
And he's doing it as if he's inebriated, which adds to all the humor.
Yeah, which he did not drink.
No, he couldn't.
So, and she was just like, yeah, I don't get it.
The funniest roast I've ever heard, I was too young to have been there, was one of the many times the Friars roasted Milton Berle. And Pat Buttram,
Green Acres.
From Green Acres, he had that kind of delivery.
Mr. Haney.
Yeah, and he started it on Milton Berle. Milton Berle's fucking this girl in Las Vegas. Of course, he was in Van Nuys at the time. Milton Berle can't have safe sex. They run out of missile silos. One dick joke after another, but brilliantly done. Brilliant because it's Milton.
Right.
Brilliant because there were incredible dick jokes, and brilliant because of his delivery. Because Pat could make almost anything funny.
It's like a dim-witted Southern, and he's anything but dumb. But
that whiny, sing-songy voice, you're almost on the edge of your seat. How is this sentence going to end?
Right.
And even if it's not funny, you laugh just because he's finished.
Right, right.
Which, if you have an incredible delivery, which is something else comedians don't understand anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, dudes, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Really? No delivery, no pauses, no how to get from this topic to that topic. If one more comedian comes out and fellates a bottle of water on stage, Really, you can't be that thirsty for 5 minutes. Keep the water backstage. Come out and do your act and go get a glass of water.
Right.
It's not important. If you do that, I apologize. But
No, I drink an energy drink right before I go on stage to get that instant burst of a jolt of energy. Even though I don't move on stage, I like to be almost a contrast, and I'm so jacked up on caffeine, but I'm not moving. So,
But again, you are so brilliant in what you do because you have the delivery also. You have all of it. You have the costume, you have the comedy attitude.
Can you talk to Netflix or Comedy Central since I'm protected with them?
I will do my best.
It's a tough business. I don't understand it, but let's get back to fucking.
Well, before we do, let's talk about the Palm Springs International Comedy Festival, upon which I am on the board of directors.
So comics, before Geoffrey talks about this, don't be bugging him on Facebook. There's the Montreal Comedy Festival. There's Skank Fest in New York, which I was very happy to be a part of. This is a comedy festival on the West Coast. You all can drive to Palm Springs. Take it, Geoffrey.
Well, and it's a comedy festival across the board. Stand-up comedians, comedy television shows, sketch comedy, comedy films, and there'll be an award show as well. So there'll be an award show honoring the best of the best, and then a weekend of showings and comedians doing their thing. So no, every single one of you can't be in it, but some of you can. And I don't mind if you contact me as long as you don't mind that I say no, or that I don't know, or I'm not sure what I can do, and how large is your penis. So as long as you understand those are going to be the questions, or at least some of the answers, you're free to contact me. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's a necessary thing, and the desert is once again becoming the place where everyone is going to play. The desert is getting hot. And I don't mean hot in heat. I mean, it's the hot place to go again. It used to be. And then for a long time there, it wasn't. And now it is the cool place to go. Hot, cool. It's the in place to be now.
Well, I've often wondered why there wasn't like a comedy store, an improv.
There is an improv out in India that Bud has started at the Fantasy Springs Casino. And in fact, I've told you, I'd love to get you booked there.
I'm in. I don't even have to hear the date. I'll do it.
Because they're only open during season. Now, that is part of the reason why there isn't a comedy club there. Because from mid-May until the end of September, the city empties out, and most of the nightclubs either close completely or they're open one day a week. They make their money in season that pays for their being dark out of season. Some of the restaurants go dark over the summer. So it is a city that is not open all year round necessarily. More and more it is, but historically, financially, very, very different. That's why the one place is located in a casino, because the casinos thrive no matter what. They're their own little islands, and people go there and just lose their minds.
And their money.
And, well, I wasn't going to say that because I'd like to get booked at a casino, but you go there to play, and it's becoming about as popular as Vegas is now as a place to be. So let's look out in September, right around my birthday, in the middle of September, for the Palm Springs International Comedy Festival. And I'd be happy to hear from friends out there. So,
well, that works out because you have Skank Fest, which is in New York, is in early July. You have Montreal Comedy Festival, which is it's just for laughs now. That's in the tail end of July. So September's a good time for, and it's essentially a local gig. Palm Springs was a 2 hour.
But you'll get international notice. You'll get lots of good FaceTime. If you get booked, or if we salute you, everyone's going to know it.
Yeah, and it's good to be, there's a whole, I think people see something like Entourage on HBO, and they're like, oh, the only people who can help you in this business are, 30-year-old agents at ICM or William Morris. There's also, Bud Freeman can still help you.
Yes.
Even though he doesn't own all the improvs, it's Bud Freeman, you idiot.
He doesn't own them, but he influences them, and he's a dear friend and a brilliant man, and I'm honored to know him. So we cannot underestimate his influence on the comedy world or anything else. Bud is a genius.
Oh, it's the Mitzi Shore, Bud Freeman, Jamie Masada. It's
We're even going to forgive Mitzi for Paulie, So, but anyway, folks.
Paulie's good to me. Paulie's good to me. So, but it's going to be a sad day when that generation passes, because that's the generation I grew up with.
Yes.
I grew up watching Evening at the Improv, back when they're really, now you have Comedy Central, you have Netflix, you have probably 7 late night talk shows that have stand up in some form, so it's a little easier to get on TV. But back then it was The Tonight Show or Evening at the Improv. That's it. And then HBO came.
And it's an inverse proportion of getting goods, because all the comedy clubs that were around back then, and they've been saying this since the turn of the 20th century, they were places to be bad. They were places to go and find out what your comedy voice was and try out jokes and routines. And do leather pants work, or do I need to walk out in a jock strap? Should I be wearing running shorts or an Armani suit? What's my point of view? You got a chance to try all that stuff before you got to the Tonight Show, before you got to the ending at the Improv. Now the clubs are drying up. You have to be excellent almost out of the get-go, unless you want to work at 3 o'clock in the morning for 3.5 minutes.
I've done that.
You've done that. You put your time in.
That I have. I don't like to brag or pat myself on the back, but I will say I've put the fucking time in.
You have, and haven't we all?
Yeah, you have. I mean, performing since 8. That's the only thing I wish some of the younger comics would appreciate is it's not just put out a YouTube video or a Vine video or a Periscope video or an Instagram live video and you're famous, which now it can be.
You can and you can't, and let's debunk that if we have time. Because
I know you have to get going to your gig. I think we've got about maybe 15 minutes, but I'd like to get back to the fucking Freddie Mercury thing.
Sure,
but
it's your car, baby. Drive.
Why don't we get into that for a second, and then we'll wrap up with your take on the future of this business, because you're someone who's 67. I mean, you 5-6 decades. We'll get to David Hodo too.
David is brilliant.
The construction worker from the Village People. Because here's my thing on the Village People, and really Freddie Mercury too, and really I'll go even into the acting world. The dad from the Brady Bunch, Paul Lenn, Jim J. Bullock. I had no idea these guys were gay. Zero. I mean, like, I look at the Village People poster I had in my bedroom. I had 2 posters: Village People and Kiss. And I look now, I go, oh yeah, I guess the leather guy, I guess he was gay. And I mean, David Hodo,
and maybe he influenced you a little bit too.
Well, definitely from the performance, but they had the Village People, I think, never got credit. Of course, Giorgio Moroder, am I saying that correctly? He was the brains behind them.
You can be brains all you want, but if the guys who are going out there night after night don't have it,
they were the talent.
Let's remember Milli Vanilli. You can manufacture stuff all you want. David Hodo, and I hope David's listening. And
he probably isn't, but I hope he is.
I hope he is. I'll let him know to look at this later.
Oh my God, I would. David, if you're out there when Geoffrey tells you about this, to have an OG member of the Village People on my couch would be beyond humbling.
Well, David, I will tell you, this guy's he's the real thing. If you want to do it, I highly recommend it. David I keep telling David he needs to write a book about his take on what's happening in the world. He writes really, really well. He's very, very intelligent. He's very, my assistant is here.
Guys, we have to pause this for a second. So on Facebook Live,
I'll keep talking. I'm just going to take the phone call, guys.
No, wait. Okay. Well, I don't know if that'll be good TV for Facebook. So we're going to cut the Facebook Live right now, okay. Geoffrey.
All right, whatever you want.
Where can people find your Ella Fitzgerald book?
Amazon.com is the best place to find it, or come to Glendale Library tonight.
All right, guys, this is Geoffrey Mark, Facebook Live. We're still going to be doing the podcast, but Facebook Live is done. I love you all. Share and retweet and buy Geoffrey's book, not only on Ella Fitzgerald, but also on
Lucille Ball.
All right, guys, love you. All right, we are done on Facebook Live.
But I will tell you, we're still doing a podcast.
And we will... Okay, we're back. We had to take a little halftime break for Facebook Live to wind down, and then... back with Geoffrey Mark, Inappropriate Earl. Geoffrey's got a gig in Glendale. So we got about 10 more minutes. We're going to talk a little bit of Freddie Mercury, David Hodo from the Village People. Take it away, Geoffrey.
Well, you wanted to talk about fucking.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Freddie Mercury's probably the greatest singer of all time, in my opinion.
Well, he's an incredible talent. He's greatly missed. And I was fortunate enough to have sex with him.
How did that, I mean, did you meet him at Studio 54 or?
The place I met Freddie at wasn't even that classy. We were talking earlier about New York City in the 1970s, and this is in the 1970s. And I'm probably maybe 18. I don't think I was any older than 19. And there were places where men got together to anonymously have fun. And I drunkenly, stonedly, perhaps cokedly, walked into one of them and recognized him. And I guess I was his type, a strawberry blonde, a skinny. It's hard to think I was skinny, but I was, my assistant is here. My assistant is lithe but muscular and has about a 28 or 29-inch waist. And I was built like him at this age.
Okay.
Because I was a dancer. So I had these thick, muscular dancer's legs and a perfect butt and a swimmer's upper body. And I guess Freddie liked it. And we ended up together that evening.
At that bar? Like in the bar or just...
Oh, you're again assuming this is way too nice of a place. There was no bar. This was just a place.
So this is like one of those places portrayed in the Al Pacino movie, Cruisin'.
Yes. In fact, it was one of the places that were portrayed. In fact, that was almost a problem for us because, well, for me anyway, because I was there in one of those places when they were filming. And I did not. I was there is a Forrest Gump thing about me. Like I was there when John Lennon was shot. There's this thing where I'm just at places in history at the right moment or the wrong moment, and I happen to be there. But there is at least 2 porn films. I'm not doing porn. I'm not naked.
Right.
But I'm in the films because I'm there while they're filming it.
Because Cruisin' was a very dark movie, let's just say, about the gay
Cruisin' was
underbelly of New York City.
Cruisin' was a homophobic piece of shit.
Okay, William Friedkin.
That took what was going on, which is not to say there isn't room to criticize gay life. Don't get me wrong. I have my own criticisms. But when you start off to make a film that is supposed to be kind of sort of a docudrama, but you've already decided before you get started what the point of view is and how it's going to end up, it is no longer a docu anything. It is your homophobia set to music. And I did not like how it came out. And the gay community was very unhappy with the film. I just happened to be there while they were doing one of the scenes, and I did not want to be in it. So I managed to extricate myself from the final copy because I did not want any part of it.
I mean, full disclosure, I love the movie for the acting. Like, I really...
Al Pacino is an incredible actor.
And one of the early appearances of someone who just recently passed away, the great Powers Booth, who was the handkerchief salesman in that one scene.
Yes, and a very nice man, by the way.
Oh, did you know Powers Booth? It bums me out when some younger star dies, and we talk about like Nicole Smith. I loved her; she was great, but we still talk about her. He dies, no one mentions it.
Her show, I absolutely turned down.
Oh, okay.
That was a show where we want you to, no, I will not be involved with that.
What do they want you to be, like her gay sidekick or something?
They were doing an episode at a store and they wanted her to run into me. Not physically run into me,
Right.
just
Oh, hey.
yeah, and have a conversation and be a part of the hijinks. And I said, yeah, it might make me more famous than I am, but I don't want to be known for that. So I
Right.
said, no, thank you. There are people in the world who will do anything to be famous.
I see it every day.
I like being famous. I enjoy it. I enjoy whatever fame I have. I enjoy it. I am not a star. I guess at this point, after 45 years, I'm a celebrity, but I'm not a star. And I'm very happy with the level I have. And whatever celebrity I've had, I really enjoy it. I love meeting people, the fans. I love being part of the business, but not that part of the business. I don't do sleaze. I don't do bad TV. I could have made a fortune producing bad TV for cable, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't write purposely bad scripts when I could have taken 3 more days and written something wonderful.
Right.
But they wanted it fast, or they wanted it sleazy. Or what awful thing can we say about these celebrities? I said, no, I'm not doing that. That's just who I am.
No, it's just
I'm happy to talk about having anonymous sex in the 1970s with all kinds of people. I don't polish a halo. But in my career, I've tried to bring anybody who cares about my work, my best work, not
Right.
my worst work.
Well, I think making love to Freddie Mercury is pretty cool. I mean,
Again, you're assuming a lot, but
Right.
it was more the other way around.
well, we 2 tops don't make a bottom, as they say in West Hollywood. Now, we can't mention names. So you told me one name off the air, because I'm a big pro wrestling fan, and I don't think that of all the forms of entertainment that I watch, action movies or music, certainly.
Let's tease them with this. I had sex with someone whose wrestling character had a military bearing.
And it could be Colonel Mustafa from AWA, it could be Colonel De Beers, maybe it's none of them. But that goes into the wildness of the 70s in New York City. You were intermingling with rock stars, pro wrestlers, I'm assuming
porn stars. There was one gym on, I believe it was 56th Street between 6th Avenue and 7th Avenue. And the wrestlers all went there, and then the porn guys and the rock people went there because it was a place you could go. Now there's gyms they're all over the world, and you join one place, and
like an Equinox.
Anywhere you go, it's there. In those days, unless you're going to the YMCA, you had to belong to that specific gym. This gym catered to people who traveled. So if you came to New York, it was easy to be a part of it, get whatever you needed, and get the hell out.
Right.
And then you went back to it the next time you were in New York City. So all of these people intermingled, and they all understood. They each served a different audience, or sometimes they overlapped. I'm sure some of the same people who watched porn also watched wrestling or whatever. They talked among themselves. They commiserated about life on the road. They were human beings, and they were all playing characters. Whether you're an actor in porn or you're a wrestler, you're an actor. Except in wrestling, you have to be in much, much, much better shape and also be an athlete on top of being an actor.
But that's also even a profession where we talk about like the dad from the Brady Bunch kind of not having to say I'm gay because it would ruin the image of the all-American family at that time. But, I would say the pro wrestling fan base you might make an argument it could be slightly homophobic. I remember when maybe about 10 years ago, they had a storyline that actually got national publicity because 2 guys were getting married. It's Billy and Chuck. It was a gay marriage. And they went on Good Morning America in character. But at the time, it was the storyline was still, hey, these guys are really gay. And so the big pay-per-view in wrestling, they were going to get married. And right as they're about to exchange the wedding rings, the one guy's like, hey, this is going too far. We're not gay. and the whole crowd erupted, as if they were really gay. It would have been the worst thing on earth. So to be a pro wrestler and have gay yearnings had to be tough.
It had to be, but I will tell you, and without mentioning any names,
Absolutely,
that I'd say the wrestlers that you knew and loved from the 70s and 80s, because that's the era where I knew them personally, half of them were gay.
Well, there's the famous, my favorite pro wrestler of all time, rest in peace, the great Ultimate Warrior. There was always rumors that he was, let's just say, when he was first starting out, had to do things that might have pointed him into a gay lifestyle. Nothing wrong with that.
No, and I almost find this subject boring because I don't know why we care about everybody else's sex life. I'm much more interested in my own than in somebody else's. And I don't think that people who are famous necessarily have any better of a sex life or different a sex life than we do. The only thing they have different than us is money to pay for whatever they want. Well, that makes a difference.
Well, I think it's, especially back then when there was no TMZ, there was no Radar Online, just like, I guess, TMZ's competitor. There was no Page Six. I don't think the American public they wanted the truth. They wanted, JFK's cheating on Jackie O. And then that almost made them more curious to look in. Who's that girl who walked into the White House?
Okay.
Or,
but now we have a White House where nobody seems to care anymore what anyone's doing.
I mean, I don't know how this guy survives.
The news doesn't have news in it anymore. So to get back to your subjects, we need to leave here in about 4 minutes.
5 minutes. We got 5 minutes to. We could go on for hours.
You know what? I'll come back and we'll do 2 hours of sex. It's just fine with me.
2 hours on Freddie Mercury alone.
Well, I did 2 hours on Freddie Mercury alone.
Or he did on you. Who knows? We won't get into that.
We went back and forth. It's all right.
I'm sure you guys experienced.
And I'm very lucky because I don't know when he became HIV positive, and I had unprotected sex with him, and I didn't get it. I'm a lucky guy. My drug dealer, I am April 1st. Whenever you're hearing this, we're talking about April 1st of 2018. So we are a few days away from that as we record this. 29 years clean and sober.
That's awesome.
Thank you, sir. But before that, I was a wild man. And safe sex, what's that? So somehow I managed to avoid getting HIV. Not because I'm a better guy, not because I'm a nicer guy. The only thing I had going in my favor is that my drug dealer, which is why I mentioned being clean and sober, when they started counting bodies, he was number 3. Number 3. In
New York City?
In New York City, in 1980, I believe. Before there was a term AIDS, before HIV was the name given to the virus, they didn't know what it was yet. And we happened to go to the same doctor. And he sent out a letter saying, hey, 3 people have died from this thing. We think it's a virus. That much they suspected right from the beginning. But if you get these symptoms, don't even make an appointment. Just come to the office immediately. We're sure this is the last death. Well, the doctor was gone too. It was an awful thing to live through. It was the worst thing to die through. A huge part of my memoirs is going to be about living through those years. And what I did, because you don't even know this about me. Dr. Matilda Krim, who started what is now the biggest AIDS research thing in the world, came to me for help when she couldn't afford the price of a cup of coffee. And to the best of my knowledge, I did the first 3 fundraisers where entertainers performed to raise money to do research for AIDS. Even in my drunken, stoned out state, I realized we're all going to drop dead if someone doesn't do something.
Right.
When she died about a month and a half ago, she had about $1 billion, with a B like for boy, $1.5 billion at her fingertips with which to do research. She literally could not buy me the coffee the first time we met.
Right.
So if I have given anything to the gay world, I helped her to start AMFAR and help all the people who are now living with the disease and having lives that are worthwhile. I'm very proud of it. I had no idea how it was going to turn out. I had no idea my tiny contribution would grow so big. But myself and about 100 other men got together and helped. And of that, I am very, very proud.
Well, we'll leave it at that. One more time, Geoffrey, where can people find you on social media?
Find me on Facebook. I'll spell it for you. GEO, F like in Frank, REY, last name MARK. Find me on Facebook, and please buy the book, Ella, a biography of the legendary Ella Fitzgerald, at Amazon.com. You can get the regular size or the giant size. The giant size has 2 wonderful CDs of her entire career that you cannot buy anywhere else. And Earl Skakel, I am so proud of you and so happy to be here.
Well, Geoffrey, it's been an honor. It's been a long time coming. You'll come back for more, as the Rat song would say, whenever you want. And guys,
whenever you have me,
please buy Geoffrey's book. Just support my friends. That's why I have them on, so you become fans of theirs. Geoffrey Mark's the best. Inappropriate Earl, SoundCloud and iTunes. Leave a review. And next week, we got a couple guests coming, comics, musicians, back to the same drill. But support Geoffrey Mark. I mean, come on. Freddie Mercury. I mean, I can't get sued, can I?
No, sir.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Inappropriate Earl. Goodbye.
Goodbye.